going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here. Today, I want to talk to you about the first two volumes of Ta-Nehisi Coates' Captain America run. The first volume is called Winter in America, and the second volume is called Captain of Nothing. This is the first 12 issues of his run. The artists who worked on this run, we have Lionel Francis Yu. That is the artist who did Secret Invasion and Superman Birthright. We have Gary Allen Guylan, Sonny Go. And then we have on Volume 2, Adam Kubert, Frank Martin, and Matt Milla. And I guess before I can really talk about what I think about this run, or what I've read of this run so far, I need to talk about a little of what came before. I didn't start regularly reading Captain America until the Rick Remender run. And I liked that run quite a bit. The one thing I didn't like was the constant stop and start. We're going to stop this series, and we're going to start a brand new series. And then after 6 issues, we're going to stop that series, and we're going to start a brand new series, and then we have a mini-series that's set in the Secret War storyline, and then we're going to start that series over, and that frustrated me a little bit, but overall, I liked the content of the Rick Remender run. And then with the Nick Spencer run, we started with Sam Wilson. He is Captain America. That actually started in the Rick Remender run, but it's still going on. And then about, I want to say 6 months or a year after the Sam Wilson series was going on, then we had that crossover with the Avengers. I think it was called Standoff, where Steve Rogers is de-aged back to his fighting health. And then we have 2 Captain America series going on at the same time, one featuring Sam Wilson and one featuring Steve Rogers. And in the first issue of the Steve Rogers series, that is where we get the infamous Hail Hydra reveal, that Steve Rogers, as far as he knows, has always been an undercover Hydra agent. And a lot of people had a knee-jerk, hateful reaction to that. They utterly despised it. I knew that was not going to be a permanent thing. We knew that the Cosmic Cube had been involved in de-aging Steve, so it was pretty obvious to me anyway that this was an alteration of Steve, but it was not necessarily a retcon of the previous 60, 70 years of Captain America stories. So if you took that as this is going to be a temporary status quo, I was fine with it. I really enjoyed all of the Nick Spencer stuff leading up to Secret Empire. Some of those stories are very topical and a little hard to read at times, but I thought the stories were very well told until you get to Secret Empire. That was where everything fell apart as far as I'm concerned. And I've done a video on Secret Empire before. I'm not going to get much into that. Following Secret Empire, you had a 5 or 6 issue storyline by Mark Waid and Chris Samnee. And I believe I read an interview somewhere where Mark Waid said that run, it was just a brief little storyline meant to be a palate cleanser because people are sick and tired of Hydra, and specifically Captain America being an undercover Hydra agent. This story is just supposed to be a fun little adventure to help people forget that. And I will admit, even though I really liked most of the Nick Spencer stuff, by the time Secret Empire was rolling in, I was getting sick and tired of Hydra, and I wanted to see some new stuff. A lot of times, Steve ends up fighting relics from World War II, either one of the Baron Zemos, who are connected to the Nazis, or the Red Skull, who is a Nazi, or Hydra, who are allied with Nazis. I've seen some people say they're not really Nazis, but they're basically the Marvel Universe version of Nazis. And so, a lot of Captain America stories and villains center around that, but that's not the only thing that he can fight. And by the time Secret Empire was happening, I was ready for something different. And then, after that palate cleanser of Mark Waid and Chris Samnee, we get Ta-Nehisi Coates, who comes in, and the entirety of this run is Steve whining because everyone treats him different because they think that he was the Hydra commander. It turns out in Secret Empire, we find out that's not the real Steve Rogers, even though Nick Spencer said in an interview once that it is not an alternate reality clone or anything like that, that it is the real Steve Rogers. Then he turned around and said in Secret Empire, the real Steve Rogers is actually trapped in an interdimensional thing. This is another reality's version of Captain America. And so now Steve is whining and moping around because people think that he used to be part of Hydra and people are treating him differently. And so in this, we have all of these, I guess, clones of of the Daredevil villain Nuke. They are going around. They work for Selene of the X-Men and this Russian woman. I don't even remember her name. The Russian woman, her husband, was actually part of the Ed Brubaker run of Captain America, I believe. And Sharon Carter, I think, had killed that guy. And so this Russian woman, she wants revenge on Captain America and Sharon Carter. And for some reason, Selene is working with her. I have no idea what Selene's beef with Captain America is in particular. Almost always, she is an X-Men villain. And I'm fine with villains sharing heroes, but I don't know why Selene is doing what she's doing here. And I guess I should just go ahead and say, I don't really know why the villains of this storyline are doing what they're doing beyond defrauding Steve and making him look like a fool. Because their whole plan here, spoilers, Thunderbolt Ross, he is now a higher up in the government, and he comes to Steve and says, hey, thanks for doing whatever you did today with these nuke clones, but I need you to stop doing this. People don't like that you were publicly, anyway, the head of Hydra, so I can't be using you on these missions. I can use your girlfriend, I can't use you. And Steve is frustrated about that, and then Thunderbolt Ross is killed. And then the Russian lady, she breaks Hydra commander out of jail, and then she burns him alive, leaves absolutely no evidence that he exists. So now, anytime Steve says, I was not in charge of Hydra, it's basically his word against everyone else. Everyone says, well, we remember seeing a guy who looked a lot like you on TV saying, Hail Hydra, and where is this guy if it wasn't you? And then this Russian lady kills that guy, so now Steve is basically backed into a corner. And the government thinks that he murdered Thunderbolt Ross because there are these people who worked for Thunderbolt Ross. They kidnapped Sharon Carter and they were torturing her, and then she doesn't remember that. So Steve ends up going to prison, a prison run by Wolfgang von Strucker. And this was weird. Apparently, in the aftermath of Secret Empire, there were several supervillains who ended up fighting against Hydra, and then the American government kind of gave them, clearance. Any past crimes you committed, we're going to wipe those away because you helped fight against Hydra. And that includes Baron von Strucker. Now, some of these villains who did that, it makes sense that they would get a pardon for some of the stuff they did. But Strucker has always been affiliated with Hydra. It makes no sense to me that he would now get his own prison to run with all of these supervillains inside. I would think that this guy who has traditionally been a Hydra operative, not just an operative, a very higher up operative, that they would say, okay, instead of giving you 250 life sentences, we're going to give you 248. So that did not make a whole lot of sense to me. But Steve is thrown in prison. There's this one point where these guards are beating up one of the wrecking crew, and Steve tries to stop them and ends up beating them up. And then von Strucker, he films that, and I think he throws that film out into the world so that everyone can see, hey, look, the Hydra commander, he takes care of his own. And this is all part of a way to tear down the symbol of Captain America. And I understand that. Captain America's girlfriend killed this one lady's husband. I understand that, maybe he is going to get in the way of whatever it is that we are going to do, so we need to take care of him before he can do that. But in 12 issues, I have no idea what these guys want to do other than get revenge on Captain America. And once that revenge is seemingly had at the end of Volume 1, it's close to the very beginning of Volume 2 that he goes to prison. Once that happens, the bad guys don't really do a whole lot here. I'm very confused what their motivations are. Like I said, I have no idea why Selene is working with this Russian lady. The Russian lady does end up using some sorcery to resurrect her husband, and this guy shared a body with the Red Skull in the Ed Brubaker Captain America run. I should point out that Red Skull, he ended up dying at some point, and then the Red Skull who first showed up in Uncanny Avengers, that was actually a clone of the Red Skull, and then that Red Skull ended up getting killed in the Nick Spencer Captain America run. So Russian lady brings her husband back to life, seemingly, everything is fine, no problems, but then when he looks in the mirror, he sees the Red Skull's face. I can't remember if Russian guy was in Red Skull's mind, or Red Skull was in Russian guy's mind. But now they've been brought back together. I'm assuming eventually we are going to see some Red Skull shenanigans. But so far we don't get to see any of that in these volumes. We don't get to see a whole lot of anything. We get to see Steve team up with Black Panther. They do a kind of undercover thing that the government doesn't really like that they're doing. And then we get to see Steve in prison for most of Volume 2. And then he gets broken out by the Daughters of Liberty. And I haven't even talked about them. The Daughters of Liberty is the Invisible Woman. We have Sharon Carter Carter. We have some other characters that I don't recognize. I think Mockingbird and Spider-Woman are both there. There's one or two characters I did not recognize at all. And at one point, after they have broken him out of prison, Steve says, why are you all women? Where are the men? And they play this scene so weird. They say, well, you fight for truth, justice, and the American way. Well, women, we have always fought for these things, even before there was an America. So that's why there's no men here. What? I don't understand. I'm fine with there being an all-lady team. You had, I think the Fearless Defenders was an all-lady team. A-Force, I think, was an all-lady team. I'm fine with that. The Daughters of the Dragon, that's Misty Knight. She's part of this group also. I forgot about her. Misty Knight and Colleen Wing. I love the Daughters of the Dragon. So I'm fine with that. But then your explanation for why there are no dudes in this team is really stupid and makes no sense. Falcon and Bucky are really close to Steve, and I have no idea why they are not helping him. We do get to see the Winter Soldier here a little bit. Bucky does help Steve at one point before he goes to prison, and then he helps this other lady who's part of the Daughters of Liberty, but he's not helping them. He doesn't help Steve. He's not helping with the breakout, trying to get Steve out of prison. We don't get to see Sam Wilson at all here. Is Sam upset with Steve because of the Secret Empire thing? I don't know. He's not here, so we don't get to see what's going on with him. Saying that women have been fighting for the values of America since before there was an America, I guess is fine, but it doesn't really explain why these women don't want any men to be part of their operation except for Captain America. I thought that was handled very poorly. And then at the end of Volume 2, we find out this secret lady who is helping the Daughters of Liberty, she is actually Peggy Carter. I have never cared about Peggy Carter as a character. I always like her more as a symbol representing what Steve lost when he was in the ice. When he comes out in the present day, oh, I remember having a thing for Peggy. She was kind of an agent of the government while I was out doing my Captain America thing, and now she's dead, or she's 105 and she's almost dead, or whatever. And now, you know, I have the future to look forward to. I have her niece here who I can date. I did not need them to bring Peggy Carter back and have her doing stuff here. She's not a character I especially cared about. So overall, I would say that this run, at least with these two volumes, it's okay. I don't like it as much as most of the Nick Spencer stuff. I don't like it as much as the Rick Remender stuff. The idea of Steve having to face the aftermath of Secret Empire is a good idea, but it's a little weird when you have sandwiched Secret Empire, Mark Waid's story that deliberately goes out of its way to avoid mentioning anything about Hydra, and then another story that does nothing but mention Hydra. I thought that was a little weird. If you're going to do that, have this stuff be what immediately follows Secret Empire, and then have the Mark Waid Chris Samnee thing be a Captain America miniseries, and then don't mention that being a palate cleanser, because once you say that, it becomes very odd when this run is explicitly about Hydra. I wish the villains here were a little clearer. I wish I understood what they were doing. There was a good chunk of Volume 1 where I thought that these guys were former Hydra agents and that they were going to rebrand themselves because everyone has a bad taste in their mouth because of Hydra. I don't think that they're affiliated with Hydra. I think these are just separate bad guys, but the thing is, I can't say for sure. I don't really know what's going on here. I thought this was okay. I'm a little hesitant on if I want to keep going with Volume 3. Usually I don't say something like this, but I bought each of these for $5. If I found Volume 3 for $5, I would probably get it. I would not pay full cover price for it. At the end of the volume, I forgot to mention this, Sharon says, the world needs Steve Rogers right now, but the world does not need Captain America, because the bad guys have succeeded in making everyone hate Captain America. So then, he goes back to wearing a costume kind of similar to what he was wearing at the beginning of the Winter Soldier movie, kind of similar to the costume he had right after Siege. There was a kind of a brand at Marvel called the Heroic Age. It wasn't a story, but there was kind of a banner you would put on the top of comics coming out at that time. And Steve, it was basically the Captain America costume without a mask. Now he's wearing something very similar to that. So you can't be Captain America, but you can dress a whole lot like him, and you can carry a shield, and everyone's going to know you're Captain America. So anyway, it's okay. I think I'm coming across like I hated it more than I did. I didn't hate it, but I didn't just love it either. So those are my thoughts on these two volumes of the Ta-Nehisi, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I looked up a video how to pronounce his name. I think I'm saying it right. The Ta-Nehisi Coates run of Captain America. That's about it. I hope you guys like this video, and I will see you guys in the future. Have a good one.